I'm gonna start this conversation by saying hi. Anyway, today we're gonna be talking about relationships and generally like different stories where I went and how I perceived these relationships and what I learned. Yada yada yada. And I'll see if I'll dabble into expectations. If I have enough time, if I don't, we'll do it as a different video. Is camera a little blurry? Is that a little better? Anyway, here we go. So, this is the first person I fell in love with. We weren't in a sexual or loving relationship in that sense, but we were in an extremely loving relationship in a friendship sense. We were together in that sense. Everybody used to call us a relationship. They thought we were like a couple. They used to make fun of us. People that knew us, I remember that. I won't forget that. And then, oh, by the way, if you notice that my octave is lower, I think I have seasonal allergies. Believe it or not, even at this time, I think the seasons are changing. And my nose is so stuffy. So my voice went down a few notches. Anyway, the things I learned about him. This guy was so open and loving. I can't believe I'm talking about this. I'm usually not that open, but everybody wants me to be open and talk about things. So, he was very loving and open. And if anything, he taught me how to be more of that. Very nice guy. Extremely nice. He taught me how to ride a unicycle. He was helping me. He placed his hand on my back, lovingly, to support me. I remember that. And he was just kind. Little things like that, they could change you, change how you feel. What else did he do? Yes, he had friendship without expectations. He never placed any burden on you, which I can definitely learn a lot from in that category. And he had self-love, which is probably why, like going back one notch, like the friendship without expectations. Like one example is he'll notice flaws. I notice that he notices because his expressions change ever so slightly, but I'm very attuned to noticing these things. And he doesn't judge. And the reason I assume he doesn't is because of the time that I spent with him, he never, even though he would have ever such a slight reaction sometimes, like just his facial expressions, like he'll notice things, like, even like somebody, changing their look ever so slightly, but he won't judge, which was kind of remarkable. To notice this. To me, anyway. And that leads to the self-love, like, that I think he had for himself. Because, for instance, he would look at us and he would say, okay, it's, sorry guys, I have to go. Things like that, And he would go, and it's 9 o'clock. The sun hasn't even set. And he's going to put himself into bed in such a disciplined yet gentle manner. And then wake up and have all the time in the world to do all his goals that he wants to do, and he feels happy doing. Or at least he looks happy doing it, like his whole life. I don't know. Sometimes I thought if he wasn't from this world. Anyway, next person. His name was Mike, by the way. Huge impact in my life. I cried for him for about 6 to 10 years. I fell in love with him. Next. Alex. He ended up going to jail for something. But before that, I liked his positive attitude and his determination. The boy had the determination. Fixed. He liked me a lot. I was probably one of his highest priorities. All these men, at some point, I was sort of the highest priority on their list. But even though I was one of their highest priorities, their goals were right up there. I kind of like that. I don't know what I liked about it, but I do. Like, with him, it was more related to school. School and such. Like, he was very determined in that sense. And what else? Oh, yes, the second point. He was very kind. Very gentle. I don't know, I think at that time I really liked gentle people. Can't believe I'm saying this on a video for people to see. Probably nobody's going to watch it anyway. But, so that relieves me. Because I'm not open about these kinds of things all the time. Usually I talk about sex or whatever. It's such an easier topic to talk about. Right to the point. Yeah. Yeah, Alex was kind. He pissed me off a few times. Because I said to him, look, you told me you were going to see me at this time, online, and you didn't. And at that time, I remember how infuriated I was. And he said, sorry, I'll do it next time. And when he said next time, I booked it. He didn't do it. And then resentment and a rift got created. But I still met him later, after 10 years, and after he came out of prison. Whole other story. Don't even get into it, please. I know somebody's eventually gonna ask if this video gets big. And sort of like Mike, Alex believed in himself. You know, reluctant in certain places, but he believed in himself, and I like that about a guy. But he was gentle, just like Mike. Soft, caring. Determined. He was pretty much an alien. I'm dating aliens. Well, Alex I dated. Mike I never technically dated. Even though we kind of went out on dates, but it was more like a friendship. Now the third person. This guy was a sociopath. But he had nice attributes about him too. His name was, let's just not mention the name. Let's just say he was the one that abused me. And he did. Now, we weren't really in a relationship, me and this guy. But we hung out a lot. And I really liked him. A lot. But suffice it to say, he dragged me 1/3 of the street and choked me in the bush. I stood up. Didn't even realize what happened. And I looked at him and I said, I don't think this is a healthy relationship. And I walked away, bleeding on my leg. I remember being horny over that. Crying over it. Not because of the physical thing that he did. It's more the fact that he did it, the emotional. And I remember laughing over it. People must have thought I was crazy. I didn't want to hurt him. Goodness, if I wanted to stop him, you just pull out a frying pan, pretend you're smiling nicely about to cook some eggs, and boom in the head and get the hell out of there. But it's not a necessary case for self-defense. We were outside anyway. Anyway. And I don't advocate violence, by the way. But what did I learn from him? I learned how to speak up. He had moments where he actually asked people, why did you say that to me? Why didn't you ask me more directly? I would have given you what you would have asked for. I remember that about him. That was a good attribute. What the hell did I write here? New habits to change old ones. Honestly, I can't remember what that means about him. How being in an abusive... Yes, I learned how being in an abusive relationship is not a good thing. Get the heck out of it. It's so simple. Don't complicate things. It's a simple rule. Why hurt yourself? Love yourself. Get out of there. Then there was this Indian security guard. It wasn't so much a relationship as much as it was. Well, it kind of was. I used to see him a lot, but it wasn't technically a relationship. And then he came over and we did things. Anyway, from him I learned, yes, how not to identify with your masks. He wore a mask. Similar to me, I wear a lot of masks to protect myself outside in the real world. But he never identified with his masks. He would drop it immediately when he got into my place. And he would talk to me so nicely. He was also showing me not to say everything to everybody. It's unnecessary. And not to befriend everybody, but be polite to everybody. That's another thing. The feelings I have with him, that's what I learned from him. I'm not saying that's how you should live your life. I'm just saying that's the way he lived it. Fascinating character. I really, really liked him for that. I liked his gentle side, how he opened up to me. He was so soft. Very soft, but a security guard. And on the outside, like a wall. Interesting character. Then there was Faisal. We fucked for 6 hours, or 7, I can't remember. Anyway. Yeah, he's the one that really taught me how to keep things to myself. How to let go of people, not be attached. He let go of me. I let go of him too. By that point, I've been with enough men, and these are only some, okay? Not to mention all the list of men I've been with. And how open he can be, just like the Indian security guard. This guy was open. This guy was a real estate agent. Well, he was very open in private. Oh, incredibly open. Unbelievable how open he was. Anyway, that's a list of some of the relationships I've been in. But we're going to have a sub-segment. I'm going to go back to talking about my trips. There was one guy that I met, and it's related still to the topic of relationships. What should we call him? Let's just call him by his name. Indra. So Indra took me everywhere. I opened up to him. He's such a gentle character. I think it's easier to open up when you're traveling somewhere because you have no biases, no reminders, no inputs on memory. Like, you know what I mean? If you live on a certain street, you get floods of memories sometimes of your past. But when you go somewhere new, there's none of that. There's also a downside to that. Because now, you don't know what the hell's going on. As good as that could be a bad thing. It's good in the sense that you're open. It's bad in the sense you don't know what the hell, where you're going. So, but in my case, it worked out in its own way because I put trust in this guy, and we went out and I had a wonderful time. It was so good. It was good, I think, because I couldn't believe how nice he was to me. He didn't want anything in return. And then at one point, both our wallets became like one. I know it sounds like what I'm insinuating is almost like he used me, but he didn't at all. Like if he was closer to paying for something, he would pay for it. He brought me into different places to go, to different temples, all these things. It was a real good friendship, to say the least. I was amazed. And I think I'm not used to stuff like that. I usually run away. I'm glad I met him. Pretty much I'm glad I met everybody that I mentioned, including the guy who abused me. You can learn things from people like that. Just stay the hell away from them. They're crazy people. I mean, people think I'm crazy. I tell them if I'm crazy and those people are normal that abuse you, I don't want to be normal. You know what I mean? These people are nuts. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave the expectations talk for another day, because it's just too much. Goodness, I wrote out like a whole list of things. No, I'll talk about it now. This video is going to be so long. Anyway, I have a yoga teacher. He tells me I have problems with authority because I was abused. We have a new teacher for yoga on Thursdays. Thursdays were the days where Mr. Pong, my teacher, for 3 years now, has taught me yoga. He now teaches on Mondays. I came in seeing that there was a new teacher, and my trust level was down because of all the abuse, I assume, that I endured in my life. I didn't want to talk to her. I didn't want to get too close. A few smiles here, hi, bye, and ciao. She seems like a lovely person, very professional, very proper, everything. I could probably tweak only one thing in her whole practice. All that being said and done, I still didn't want to open up so fast to her. I realized that my teacher, who was there as a student this time, because he came in late, he says he teaches on Mondays. I said, oh good, I'm going to definitely go on Monday. I really like the way you teach. And he looks at me and he says, he giggles and he says, I'm glad I could fulfill your expectations. And me being the smartass that I am, just like he is in a way, I look at him and I say, you bet you fulfilled my expectations. I said that to him, and then some, and he started giggling. I think I know what he was trying to tell me. To be more, let go of the expectations, but I think sometimes it's good to have them for yourself. Maybe not the expectations, but to know what's good for you. And to go and find what you need. Maybe it's just not supposed to be done by the people that are around you. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to keep giving her a try. The new teacher. Self-appointed at that, which is another thing I don't always like. Well, it depends. And I'm definitely going to go to my old teacher. Anyway, that's the story of that. Uh, yeah, that's the story of that. I can't believe this video got so serious. I'm also going to be redirecting people to my dance videos and my fun videos where I'm singing, dancing, other people's songs. So it's not really mine. So it has to be a different channel. I'm going to ask the question. The final question. Do you like what I'm wearing? Do you like the way I look? Do I make you happy? Well, I clearly do if you came to this point of the video. Either that or you've gone psycho. Bye.